Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the John DeVito Show. Today is Wednesday in a very short week. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. So I want to start by wishing everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. I hope all of you have a wonderful day. I hope you get to spend it with your loved ones. I hope you get to eat as much turkey and food and pie as possible and just enjoy every minute of it. And make sure when you're sitting at the dinner table tomorrow with your family, put away the phone. Don't even bring it to the table. Your texts and other things can wait until after dinner. And sit down and talk to your family, talk to your loved ones, talk to your grandparents, because you never know when they're not going to be there again. When everyone's done eating, sit there for 15, 20, 25 minutes after dinner and just talk and enjoy each other. So I hope everyone has a wonderful day tomorrow. But today, one of the things I want to talk about is something that I think is a huge problem in the United States of America. Now, if any of you are on Facebook, also, you may have seen a page called the Pussification of America. That's my page. I think I've got 51,000 followers, and I have it on Twitter or X as well. So I've been thinking about this process for quite some time, or this situation. And one of the things I've seen throughout the course of my life is that America has changed a lot. America, the United States of America, is, in my opinion, the greatest country that's ever existed on this planet. And we're not perfect. The United States has a lot of problems. I mean, obviously, going back in history, we had a huge problem where we had slavery in this country. There are a lot of people that talk about how we gained this land by taking it away from Native Americans. Now, my family wasn't here when that happened. My family was in Europe. We did not come until the early 1900s, so my family did not participate in slavery or any of these awful things that happened in the history of our country. So our country is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but compared to most places in the world, the United States provides people the opportunity to come here, to be free, and to pursue any dream that they have. And they can come and if they work hard, they can achieve financial success. They could achieve really any type of success that you want in this life if you're willing to work hard. Now, it's not easy. I think some people believe that coming to the United States of America ensures them success. And nothing is guaranteed in this country. You have to work hard more than anything else. I think that's the number one trait, that if you look at anyone that's successful, it's hard work that gets them to where they need to be. And when a lot of times when new people come over to this country, maybe they don't have the education or the talent to maybe achieve whatever dreams that they may have. But the most important basic, I think, is working hard. Then I think back on my family. I've talked about this in a couple of different podcasts. My grandparents came over from Italy to this country back in the early 1900s, and they never took a handout from anybody. They were legal immigrants. They came through Ellis Island. They didn't take handouts. They worked in factories. They never made a lot of money, but they established a very strong work ethic in their family that was passed on to my father. And then that work ethic was passed on from my father to me and to my sister. And we work hard. And after 3 generations of working hard, our family has really established over the course of 3 generations the American dream, where we went from a family where we had immigrants that were poor, that worked hard, that didn't really have a lot, didn't own a house, did not own property, to my father, who learned work ethic from them. He worked hard, went 9 years to night school to get his college degree. He worked his whole life. He had a house, he had property. He was able to put away some money for savings. And then it transitioned on to my wife and I, who have also worked hard, and we've achieved a little bit more success than my parents did. And my wife's the same way in her family, and it's a very similar trajectory in her family, where 3 generations of families have moved her family forward, and she's worked very hard to become successful. So America is, in my opinion, the greatest country on the face of the earth. We have challenges like everyone else does. Nothing's perfect here, but we have a country where if you work hard, you have the ability to be successful. Now, the term that I'm using to title this podcast is the Pussification of America. Now, if you really think about where we've been over the last 100 years, 50 years, whatever, you look at World War II, you look at a generation of people that fought through a war that redefined the world. And a lot of these same people had been through the Great Depression in their families. They were really tough, gritty, strong people that understood what it meant to dig your heels in, be tough, and fight. Now, I would say my generation, I was born in 1968. I grew up in the 1970s and the 1980s, and life was a lot different then. Back in those days, when I was a young kid, if you went out into town and you were disrespectful to anyone, if you were disrespectful to an adult, if you were rude in any way whatsoever out in society, and word got back to your parents, look out when you came home because you were about to get punished, you were about to get an ass whooping, you were about to get grounded, and you had consequences for the things that you did wrong in life. The same thing held true in school. When I was young, you didn't have parents that were steamrolling the teachers like they do today. You had parents that if they found out you were disrespectful to a teacher in school or disrespectful to the principal in school, then you were going to come home and you were going to, again, get an ass whooping. Now, I'm not saying that abuse is the right course of action, but I do believe that when I grew up, there was a lot more clear definition as to what was right, what was wrong, and if you did what was wrong, there were consequences for you in your life that you would have to answer for. And I think that, unfortunately, over the last number of years, the last 20 years maybe, we've seen a complete change in the way children are raised. Now, going back again to when I was a kid, you would get on a bike and you would ride around town by yourself. You would find friends. You would be out playing all day. You knew to come home maybe during lunch. Then you'd go back out and play again. At that point, you knew when it started to get dark, you needed to be home. So I was raised in a generation where I didn't have my parents looking over my shoulder every minute of the day. You were expected to go out. You were expected to engage with other people. You were expected to behave yourself. And if you didn't, there would be consequences at home. At home, I was expected to keep my room clean. I was expected to help with yard work. I was expected to do my chores. And if those things were not completed, then there would be consequences to that. In today's society, I really believe that consequences have almost become a thing of the past. Today, we have a generation of parents and children who are so intent on protecting the feelings of their children every moment of the day and making sure that no one does anything or says anything to our children that might upset them. We have created, in my opinion, a very weak generation of young people. And when you think about that, does it matter? I think parents, when they do this, they think that they're protecting their children. They think that they are helping their children. But by trying to turn the entire world into a safe space is not benefiting our children. And let's face it, the world is a very difficult place. Life can be very difficult. And I think it's very important for all children, young adults, and adults to understand that at some point in your life, you are going to need to dig your heels in, toughen up, get that stiff upper lip going, and you need to fight forward. You need to forge ahead in order to not just succeed, but to survive in life. Life can be difficult, and life will beat you down if you let it. And I think the problem we have today is a lot of people are not prepared to battle through these difficult times that we have. And if you look at society, I've done shows on toxic masculinity. I've done shows that have completely talked about the undermining of the American male in society today. Now, don't get me wrong, this show is never about bashing women. I want to be that. I want that to be clear to any man that listens to this show, to any woman that listens to this show, to any child that listens to this show. Myself, John DeVito, I have the utmost respect for women. I think women are brilliant. I think they're beautiful. I think, honestly, they are as tough as nails, and they know how to dig their heels in and be tough and be the backbone of families and of really any organization they're with. So I think one of the things that in general we've done right over the last number of years is we have helped women in society to become, I don't want to say equal, but more equal to men. And when I say more equal, I do think that there are still things like a pay gap between men and women. Women have not completely gotten to the point where they are looked at in society as being completely equal to men, which is wrong. They should be, because you will not find a man that is more proud of the women in his life. The women I've had in my life, I've been blessed with. My mother, my mother-in-law, both grandmothers, my wife, my daughter, my sister, every woman that I've had in my life, I have been blessed with, because they are all strong, independent, intelligent, and loving women that care deeply about their families. So I think society has done much better for women over the last number of years, and that needed to happen because for a long time, women did not have any type of equal rights in society, and that was not right. That was one of the failures of the past, one of the negatives of the past that we've seen improve drastically over the last 20 to 40 years, I would say. So, where we have failed has been with men. Men have been under attack. And I just did a show talking about men and how they've been classified as toxic masculinity. They've been told they need to be more sensitive. And over the last 20 to 30 years, we have seen a complete erosion of the male in America. And I think it's been a huge mistake. And I believe it has been an effort, an organized effort on the part of media, on the part of government, on the part of society to weaken men. And I am of the belief where, in order to strengthen women, you don't need to weaken men. I think in this society, we need to have strong women, but we also need to have strong men. Men have been failing in a lot of ways. When you look at inner cities, you look at the number of men that are not present in the lives of their children. Children need a healthy male figure as a role model in their family. It's very, very important to have a good man leading a family, because men show certain traits to their children that are important for them to learn, especially and really only if it's in a healthy manner. So, for whatever reason, over the last number of years, I've seen America becoming weaker. And I think part of that has to do with the erosion of men in society, with the war on men, because really the country, in my opinion, in a lot of ways, has turned against men and turned against any man that considers himself or society considers them to be masculine. Now, when you look at that, I think another thing that's caused the pussification of America is the fact that we are now offended by literally everything. And this has been something that is so out of hand, whether you want to call it the woke mentality, whatever you want to call it. Everything that comes up in this world, we are now offended by. And there was a time in this country, I know that people that maybe weren't alive in this period of time, the 1970s, the 1980s, never lived through it. But there was a time where people had a sense of humor. There was a time where people could make jokes about things that maybe were a little inappropriate, but not everybody got offended. I think of like old TV shows like, All in the Family, The Jeffersons, Good Times, all these old shows that kind of played on things in society and really made them funny. And neither side got offended. I think both sides could look at the humor in the situations that were presented. So I think one of the things that's really become a problem in the United States is, again, the fact that just we're offended about everything. We're canceling everything. We're ripping down statues. And we're in the process of doing that, we are losing the history that built this country. And again, when you think back on history, you're not going to agree with everything in history. Obviously, there are a lot of negative things that have happened in American history. But it's important for all of us to understand what's happened historically in the country and historically in the world. And if we don't understand that, that is when we repeat history and we live through these negative things again. So I found a list, and this is kind of a graph from a research center. And this is something I find really troubling because we talk about America in the perception that we're becoming weaker. And I believe that this perception is something that's not just seen in the United States of America, but it's seen across the world. So I found this poll or graph from the Pew Research Center. And the title of this is Americans are much more likely to see their country's global influence weakening than getting stronger. And if you look at this graph, there are several countries that are listed. We have the United States, Japan, UK, France, Spain, Hungary, Greece, Italy, Canada, South Korea, Malaysia, Belgium, Australia, Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, Israel, Singapore, and Poland. Now, out of all of these countries, out of all of them, only one country is seen as in a lower percentage of getting stronger in the eyes of the world than the United States. Japan, only 8% of the people in the world see Japan getting stronger. With the United States, only 19% of the people see the United States getting stronger on the world stage. Now, when you look at the getting weaker statistics, the United States leads the world at 47%. So 47% of the people feel that the United States is now weaker on the world stage. Japan's at 43, UK at 39, France at 39, Spain 37, Hungary 37, Greece 36, and it goes all the way down to Poland, where only 12% of the people see Poland as getting weaker. So this may seem like a poll that maybe doesn't matter, but honestly, when you look at the way the American society has gone from being a tough, gritty, dig your heel in type of society into a very woke, offended, male getting weaker society, the world is also seeing that, and the United States is now perceived as being a very weak country. Now, what does that mean? Does that matter? In my opinion, it matters, because if the United States of America is being seen as a weak country, that puts us in jeopardy of being attacked. It puts us in jeopardy of enemies coming in, similar to September 11th, and attacking our country from within. And if you look at what's happened over the last 4 years under our current incompetent president, Joe Biden, that's exactly what we've seen. We've seen all these immigrants coming into this country. We don't know who most of these people are, and we could be setting ourselves up for an attack in this country like we've never seen before. So, unfortunately, in my opinion, over the last number of years, we have become a much weaker country, and we now are really out there and very vulnerable to be attacked, in my opinion. And if we are attacked, are we going to have the young people that can defend our society? I mean, if you look at what happened in the military has fewer and fewer applicants. A lot of it had to do with the COVID policies that came out where they were throwing out soldiers who wouldn't get the shots. Now the enrollments are down into the military, and the country is trying to do something to combat that. We have a weaker military. We have a weaker American population. The American population is too busy sitting home wondering about what they're going to binge watch next on Netflix. They're sitting home playing video games instead of out living an active life. And in my opinion, a weakened America, a weakened male population puts the United States in a very dangerous position across the world where I believe we are very vulnerable for an attack. And that's one thing. You know, we you may not agree with war. I mean, nobody really does. I certainly don't crave war. I would like to have our country avoid it. But the problem is there are people in this world that don't like the United States that want to end us. And unless we have strength in the United States, that means strength in the military, strength in the population, strength of the people, then we are vulnerable to being taken over. So I really believe we need to change the way things are going in this country. We need to get back into raising children the right way. Children need to learn that this world is not going to be easy, and you need to dig your heels in, and you need to be tough if you're going to succeed. And we've gotten so far away from that, where every child needs a safe space. They can't handle any type of conflict in their life. That's a problem. And that may prove to be the problem that takes down the United States of America. And I will say it again. I believe the United States of America is the greatest country in the history of this earth. We represent freedom. We represent hope for many. And if we continue going down the path that we're going in, where we are supporting weakness and we are attacking and eroding what men stand for in the society, then the pussification of America is only going to get worse, and we may not exist going forward. So that's what I have to say about this today. It's something that's been bothering me quite a bit. I know my little podcast probably isn't going to change it, but I felt like I had to verbalize it. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in today to the John DeVito Show. Hopefully this show brought some value to you. And if you do like my show, please tell a friend and help me expand my listenership. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. And please come back again soon.